Hi everyone, it's Anne with Art on the Creek, and today I've got a real simplified version of our gazebo in O'Brien Park in downtown Parker. I'm going to be using a combination of Conté crayons and pastel pencils to just kind of fill in some color here, just to kind of use a different art medium. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm kind of in a creative rut, which tends to happen to me every January, I just kind of try some new media, new art supplies. And sometimes it helps, so I thought what I would do with this is share this drawing with you. It is on double speed, and I'm going to go ahead and share some of our Parker, Colorado history. So I'm reading from the parkerhistory.org website, and according to popular legend, Parker, our town, can trace its colorful history to the establishment of Pine Grove Way Station by Alfred Butters in 1864. Prior to that time, the area was used for hunting by Indians, and renowned archaeologists have unearthed several semi-permanent hunting camps. The first residents of the area were the ancients, prehistorics, including Plains woodland Indians, and by the 1800s consisted mostly of Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute. White men explored the general area in the early part of the 19th century. These included James Pursley in 1803, Baptiste Lalande in 1804, Stephen H. Long in 1820, and John Charles Fremont in 1843 to 44. The old Native American trails that ran next to Cherry Creek near Parker were also used by early traders, trappers, frontiersmen, and gold seekers, such as John Beck, Captain R.B. Marcy, William Green Russell, Thomas Fitzpatrick, Jim Baker, Uncle Dick Wooten, and Kit Carson. The main trail became known as the Cherokee Trail and was a branch of the Trappers Trail. When stage lines rolled into Colorado, it became known as the Smoky Hill Trail South, the West Cherry Creek Stage Road, and the Denver Santa Fe Stage Road. Gold was discovered in Colorado in 1858, and the following year, over 100,000 people followed the trails here in search of their fortunes. Small towns and settlements sprang up as the focus changed from gold to land. Alfred Butters built a tiny one-room building in the Pines just south of the present-day Parker United Methodist Church around 1864. Butters handled mail, supplied provisions, and provided a place to leave messages. His place was a refuge for travelers and was appropriately named Pine Grove. He soon traded the building to a Mr. Goldsmith for a yoke of oxen, and Goldsmith in turn sold it to Mr. and Mrs. George Long. The Longs moved the original structure to its present location on Main Street and built an addition to include 10 rooms and a second-story ballroom. They also added some outbuildings to accommodate animals and wagons. Since the property was situated about 20 miles from Denver City, the Longs named it 20 Mile House. Like the other quote-unquote mile houses in the area, it was a stage stop that provided meals, lodging, and provisions. Although courthouse records bring dates into question, historical accounts generally agree that George Long traded the 20 Mile House to Nelson and Susan Dowd in 1869 for a span of mules. The legend said that the Dowds then sold it to James Sample Parker, an ex-bullwhacker and station manager who had been living in Kiowa in 1874. However, the deed is dated 1870. Under Parker's ownership, the 20 Mile House grew and prospered. A blacksmith shop with equipment to shoe oxen and general mercantile store were added to the facilities. It became Pine Grove's first post office on December 8, 1870. James Parker granted rights of way for future roads, ditches, telephone lines, and eventually the Denver and New Orleans Railroad. When his daughter, Edith Alice, reached school age, he provided the first schoolhouse, Pine Grove School, across the road from 20 Mile House. He also paid the teacher's salary for the first year and provided her with room and board. The town's first cemetery was located atop the hill just east of the intersection of Highway 83 and E470. But when Parker's son Charlie died in 1874, his son Bella in 1882, and his first wife Maddie in 1887, he buried each on a knoll just northeast of 20 Mile House. Those 3+ acres were donated by James as the town's new cemetery, and since it was surveyed in 1884, presumably that was the land that was donated, though to what organization is unknown. In 1885, the 4 people known to have been buried in the original cemetery were reinterred in the new one. The title to the cemetery was transferred to James Parker's heirs to the J.S. Parker Cemetery Association in 1911. Parker died in 1910 and was buried next to his wife Maddie. Nearby is the grave of another pioneer whose headstone reads, Jonathan Tallman, killed by Indians, May 8th, 1870. Many of Parker's first families are buried in this little cemetery. Land west of Highway 83 was owned by James Parker, but the land east of the highway was homesteaded by James's brother George. George established a saloon and was instrumental in seeing that other businesses located in the growing town. The railroad provided the impetus, and by the turn of the century, Parker boasted a hotel, a post office, 2 blacksmith shops, water tower, and pump house, 3 general mercantiles, a dry goods store, a saloon, a livery stable, a brickworks, a stockyard, a creamery, a barber shop, a school, and a few miscellaneous dwellings. In the nearby Newland Gulch, gold was found in the mid-1880s. And that's all from the history page on that website. And now moving over to the Town of Parker Facebook page, they have a post from 2019 that talks about this gazebo. Situated in the heart of downtown Parker, the O'Brien Park Gazebo was donated by the Rotary Club of Parker in recognition of the 100th anniversary of the founding of Rotary International and formally dedicated on September 23, 2004. The new shade structure replaced a smaller gazebo that sat in the southeast corner of the park. Today, the gazebo is at the center of many favorite community events and keeps watch over beautiful days in O'Brien Park all year long. That certainly is true. This gazebo is a wonderful place for people to meet and visit and talk. Picnics, the restaurants across the street often have live music in the summers, and many people, myself included, will kind of just go sit around the gazebo, bring some food, and listen to the music. I'm really proud to be a resident of Parker. It's so funny because when I was growing up, Parker was just the middle of nowhere, really. And I think when I was in high school, there was only 600 residents here, and now it's well over 10,000. My family came over from Emilia-Romagna, Italy, to work the mines up above Aspen, and that was in the 1800s when all of this settling was going on down here. My family was coming over. Angelo, he came over first, and he sent home for a bride, Caterina. She came to help him, and they settled in Newcastle, which is up around Aspen. He worked in the Paradise Mine. I think I've mentioned this story on one other of my videos, but just a short recap here. And let's see, they had a lot of kids, and my grandmother, Louisa, she married another miner who worked in a different mine in Leadville, and they decided to settle in Lafayette. That's a town north of Denver, northwest of Denver, near Boulder. These are cities that you've probably heard of by now. And let's see, my dad went to the University of Colorado, and then after he graduated, he became a teacher, and he was working down in Florissant, which was a very small town at the time, down by Colorado Springs. And let's see, he married Mom, and she was born in St. Louis, raised in Ottumwa, Iowa, and she came over in the late 50s, and they got married, had us kids. And we grew up in Denver in a neighborhood called the Highlands. At that time, it was the Italian neighborhood, so we fit right in. But as kids grow, we certainly didn't fit in our little duplex anymore, so we moved out to the suburbs, and my parents bought a home in Arvada, and that was the home probably from about the time I was 9 until I left for college. And a really long segue to get to my point of why I love living in Parker so much. That era in the early 70s when Arvada was fairly new is a lot like Parker is now. It's just it's a town that's just starting to grow. The change is inevitable. That there's going to be more people living here. In fact, we've got a lot of new development going on. But the little portion where we live is backs up next to some ranch land. Our neighborhood does, and I am just so happy to be able to be this close to everything I love about Colorado, to be in a community that really values its history. I really value our family's personal history, and gosh, I hope I'm not boring you. It's just such a great thing to me to have these roots and have them be tangible. And that's one of the reasons that I like art so much, actually, is because I've said it many times. I like to recreate scenes, memories in my mind that I used to just take a photo and then stick it in a photo album and be done with it. But for me, by drawing it, by recreating it, I kind of get to relive all the things about it. And in fact, for this particular picture that I took, the quilt that's hanging over the rail there, I made that quilt, and my daughter and I needed to go out and do a little photo shoot for it because the quilt was going to be featured in some things, so I needed to have some photos, and she helped me. And it was just such a fun day. We laughed so hard that day. Oh my gosh, it was so cold. And it was, it's just a really good memory. And I just, with this channel, I hope that maybe you can pick up a few things from me. Maybe you can pick up some few tips. Maybe, maybe you already know what I'm showing you here, which is fine. I certainly hope that the content you're finding useful or enjoyable or entertaining in some way. But most of all, what I really hope to impart from this channel is my love of art to you. I know that you wouldn't be here if you didn't love art in the first place. And I feel like there's a reason that you're here. There's a reason that you are drawing things, or you're painting things, or wanting to learn more about art. And I am eternally humbled that you've chosen my channel to land on. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. I think that as artists, our community is stronger by sharing these moments like this, sharing the meaning of what art means to us. And we have this wonderful platform of social media where we can share these things, share our experiences, and make our world just a little bit smaller. You know, there's a real human being at the other end of this channel. And I'm third generation Coloradan. My kids are fourth generation. And even though their kids, my grandkids, were born in different states, I know that Colorado is very near and dear to each and every one of them. And I just hope that through these videos and through my art, I can help to share my love for Colorado and maybe reawaken or awaken a love that you have for your own surroundings. Or maybe I can entice you to come visit Colorado. It's a pretty cool state. I just hope you guys are having a really happy new year. And I'm going to stop talking now and just let this run out with a little bit of music. So hopefully I can find some music that will fit in this time frame. And as always, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. And I very much look forward to seeing you again next time here on Art on the Creek. Take care, everybody.